consultation, every consultation with women, with people with disabilities, and the broad consultations we had, it was very clear that everyone who we met felt very strongly that local action and leadership from the local level was critical. The localization commitments in the Grand Bargain include a few points. First is the increase in multi-investment in the institutional capacities of local and national responders. And I think this is a very important point. It's not just about increasing finance to respond, but most importantly, it's about also real investment in capacities and strengthening them, and this is sometimes forgotten. The second is to understand better and work to remove or reduce barriers that prevent organizations and donors from partnering with local and national responders. We know that systems today may not allow some donors to directly fund local and national actors. So in this coming year, and Philippe will expand on this, and I'm sure David will as well, we need to find out what are these barriers, how can we remove some of them, how can we ease the transfer of funding and also support to local actors. The third area is about supporting and complementing national coordination mechanisms where they exist and not replacing them, and including local and national responders in international coordination mechanisms. Fourthly, we have an ambitious goal that by 2020, a global aggregated target of at least 25% of humanitarian funding is for local and national responders as directly as possible. Now, this is, as I mentioned, very ambitious. It arose because some UN actors around the table had actually said they were doing 20% already, and this is why the number 25 came up as a challenge to go further. Next one is around, together with the Interagency Standing Committee, look into the development of a localization marker, and finally, make better use of pooled funds and other funding tools. So you can see that the there is a document that is agreed. It's a bargain between donors, and emergency funding is an important part of this, but it's also really about how do we strengthen partnerships, how do we include local and national actors in leadership and decision making, how do we really invest in capacity strengthening and looking at the longer term view as well on the role of local actors and national actors. And these are not only restricted to NGOs, but also to local governments, to national government agencies, local businesses, and so forth.
Just a word on how we define, we understand our own role, which is very much about facilitating. There is one favorite expression within development cooperation, which is always about being an honest broker. What's behind this type of concept is really that we endeavor together with IFRC to bring people, angles, perspectives, opinions, positions together and find common ground. At this stage, we still feel that it's important to focus on information sharing. How is it going? How are things within my neighbor system? What are the different situations in the respective countries? But it's also very much about potentials, working with pilot countries, those who are ready to spearhead. And there is this element also of research, of trying to distill out of the practice, the stock taking, a few relevant analysis and lessons upon which we can build. And of course, it's very much about measurement. We have to make ourselves accountable, so it's very much about, right, we talk, but does this transfer into action, and can we identify in one way or another already a different practices, different systems. There is this notion of developing guidance notes, but also proposing tools that really help moving forward. It's very much also about how we fund and finance, because that's I think one of the most relevant indicators where and how does the money flow. So we want to work on that. And of course, there's the whole element of capacitation and coordination. So obviously this thing has started gelling, and we are confident that we are on the right track. I perceive also with and through my colleagues a lot of energy in the workstream, which I think is excellent. Also a readiness to carry on talking, so debating, but in a fruitful, conducive way. What's to be said finally is about country level. So we are thinking of launching missions. I understand that there are 3 countries that have been identified as demonstrator countries: Nigeria, Iraq, and Bangladesh. And that's to be also seen in connection with something that I feel is very, very important. It's also the country-based coordination and also teaming up of NGO local actors. And I've seen in the case of both South Sudan and now more recently Congo, how the interface, the conversation between international NGOs and national NGOs is crucial in terms of empowering, but also providing tools, resources to national NGOs in the spirit and the context of what we intend to achieve as the localization workstream.